Hey everybody, it is Ricky DeRays from the WrestleHavoc Podcast. I wanted to take this moment, and before I get on with the Raw review, I just wanted to talk about Jay Briscoe, who passed away yesterday in a tragic car accident. Jay, of course, you guys all know who Jay Briscoe is. They are, of course, the current Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. He is one half of the popular tag team, the Briscoe Brothers, alongside his brother Mark Briscoe. It was definitely quite the unexpected news that we got last night. Absolutely horrible news. The Briscoe Brothers were a tag team that I always knew about, but never really, watched a lot of their matches or all their stuff until last year. One of the reasons why, I'm be honest, I wasn't really the biggest watcher of independent wrestling. I still am not really the biggest watcher of independent wrestling, to be quite honest with you. Like, I would watch some GCW shows there and there, but I'm not really the biggest watcher of independent wrestling. But if there's one thing that you can say about the Briscoe brothers, it is that these two men, Jay and Mark, definitely made a name for themselves without the WWE machine. They were grinding for almost over 20 years at this point, around the independent circuit. And everybody will tell you what made the Briscoes so special was the fact that every time when they stepped foot in that squirt circle, they were always as real can get. They were legit badasses. That is basically a simple word to describe the Briscoe brothers. One of the things that really got me hooked in the Briscoe brothers last year was Jay Briscoe. Jay was always the serious type of guy, and his brother Mark Briscoe was always the funny guy. He was the goofball, which I mean that in a good way, man. His brother Mark was amazing and really made me laugh. Jay was a great human being, at the end of the day. Great wrestler. The chemistry that he had with Mark his brother Mark was just absolutely amazing. And it was definitely a shocker that we found out that he passed away last night. So I wanted to take this time to say, my thoughts and prayers go out to Jay Briscoe's family, especially his brother Mark. Pray for Jay Briscoe's daughters who were in the car accident. I believe they are currently in critical condition. And, I hope all goes well with them and they recover as fast as they can. And, Jay Briscoe, unfortunately, we lost. He will not be forgotten. He will not be forgotten. And if there is anything that we can take away from this whole situation, I should say, is hold on to your loved ones and tell them that you love them every single day, no matter if you're on good terms or whether you are on bad terms with them. Always tell your loved ones that you love them, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. And, I feel like us as humans, we tend to sometimes take life for granted, but we need to realize that life on this earth is not forever. It's not forever. It's only a temporary thing. One day we will all pass. And unfortunately, we lost one in Jay Briscoe yesterday. So my thoughts and prayers go out to his family, especially Mark Briscoe. I believe today is his birthday as well, which is even worse. But the wrestling world lost a true great human being. Jay Briscoe was not only a great wrestler, he was also a great husband, a great father, but at the end of the day, he was also a great man. And, losing Jay Briscoe is going to be a tough one. So my thoughts and prayers go out to his family, and, rest in peace, Jay. We will all miss you. What's up, everybody? It is Flamin' Ricky DeRays, right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, here to review Monday Night Raw from January 16th, 2022. I know I said that I was going to upload the Raw review on Tuesdays, but with the unfortunate news of Jay Briscoe's passing, I had to postpone it up till today. Overall thoughts on this Raw show. Raw was a fine show overall. Ever since Triple H took over the creative reins of Monday Night Raw, Raw has definitely gotten better, but at the same time, I definitely felt, even though Raw has gotten better, there's still some flaws with the show, and there's still relatively some flaws with SmackDown as well, and I talked about this. I feel like the biggest problem with Raw, in my honest opinion, the biggest problem that I have with Raw is the fact that, I just don't really care as much about what is going on with the show. And the main reason for that is the fact that the show is 3 hours. I know a lot of other podcasters, a lot of big podcasters have stated this, but Raw is a drag to watch. And, for the past couple of weeks, Raw has not really been bad, but Raw definitely has been a drag to watch. Really, if you're following WWE, the more important show out of both Raw and SmackDown is definitely SmackDown. Raw is not the most important show at all. And you can tell it's very difficult to book a show in a 3-hour format because you have to put a lot of content there all the time. But overall, man, Raw was not that bad of a show. Of course, we are on the road to the Royal Rumble. Of course, the Royal Rumble kicks off the beginnings of the road to WrestleMania. Cody Rhodes announces his return to the Royal Rumble. Usually, a lot of people wanted it to be a surprise, but nonetheless, we are still going to be getting Cody Rhodes at the Royal Rumble, and you already know who is going to be winning the Royal Rumble match in a couple of weeks. We're also on the road to Raw's 30th. Yes, Raw's 30th anniversary. Raw is 30, or I should say Raw is Triple X. A lot of people have been making fun of the graphics for Raw's 30, which was pretty funny in my opinion. But overall, Raw was a fine show nonetheless. We had the 6-pack elimination challenge match. Of course, the winner will face Austin Theory for the United States Championship. We had a lot of other stuff happen on the show, but primarily the most important thing that happened on the show was Cody Rhodes announcing his return to the Royal Rumble. Also, it looks like we're getting a tease of a reunion. I wouldn't necessarily say reunion, but a reformation as well of the Hurt Business. Overall, I'll give you guys my thoughts on that as well. I think it's going to be pretty interesting because I feel like the Hurt Business was a faction in the WWE the last couple of years that was definitely interesting, but I felt like just did not have the correct direction in my eyes. But yeah, man, before I get on with all of this craziness, make sure to like and subscribe to the WrestleHavoc Podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And as the frickin' referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, the WrestleHavoc Podcast is also available on audio platforms. It is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. So if you guys want to check out the WrestleHavoc Podcast in audio format, it is available on those platforms. And my apologies, I just noticed right now that my text scroll is outdated. It should be talking about Raw and stuff, but it was the text scroll from the previous video, of course, which was episode 3 of the WrestleHavoc Podcast, in which I talk about Vince McMahon and the rumors and the rumored sale of WWE. So my apologies if I have the wrong text scroll here. I thought I changed it, but apparently I did not. OBS has been acting up recently on me, and I currently do not like that, but it is what it is. And hey, we got to work with situations like this. So my apologies for the wrong text scroll right here on the screen that you're watching this video of. All right, let's start off with Raw. The Usos and Solo Sikoa kick off Raw. Of course, the Usos and Solo Sikoa cost Sami Zayn the match that he had with Kevin Owens this past Friday on SmackDown, and Sami Zayn looked like he wasn't very happy, and it looks like there's going to be some quote-unquote repercussions this Friday on SmackDown. SmackDown is actually going to be very interesting. Again, I've stated this constantly on the SmackDown review. What makes this whole honorary use storyline special is that they keep you guessing all the time. Now, we didn't get Sami Zayn on this show this week, but definitely Friday is going to be interesting. So the Usos get the microphone, talk about how they're in Cincinnati, Ohio, and the bloodline is now in their city. And they're talking about what they do every week. They talk about how they run both SmackDown and Raw. But before Solo beats Ali, because Solo is actually getting ready for a match, they need to address what happened on Friday Night SmackDown. Says that they talk about how Kevin Owens cannot cross the tribal chief and get away with it, and they have some really big plans for Raw 30. Every generation of the Bloodline will come to Raw next week in celebration of Roman Reigns, and they are also about to defend those tag team championships against the Judgment Day. They say how they will beat the Judgment Day, and they will cause, or I should say, they're going to beat the Judgment Day because they are the twos, and they are the ones. Then the Judgment Day come out. Of course, Dominik with his quote-unquote fake swagger because he was in prison for 2 days. Pretty entertaining stuff with Dominik, by the way. Rhea says the only thing that the Bloodline needs to acknowledge is that the Judgment Day runs Monday Night Raw. Finn says that they not only run this show, but last week they ran through the whole tag team division, and they are running straight for them. But he wants to take this moment to thank the ex-con, Dom, for stepping up, for filling in for his fallen brother, and helping the Judgment Day become the number one contenders for the Raw Tag Team titles. And Damian Priest gets the microphone and says, next week, those nice red Raw Tag Team titles will permanently be back on Monday nights. Talks about how they always took everybody out on Raw, and they never stood up to the Judgment Day. Dominik says that they smell fear, and says that the Usos are scared. Then Jimmy actually immediately kind of like impersonates Dominik, which is pretty funny. Jay says that they started to reign, they started this reign as being the tag team champions, beating him and his father Ray. Dominik says that they wouldn't last a minute with the prisoners he was in, and he says in prison they call the Usos basically wannabes. I completely forgot what he said in that line because I botched my notes. Then Dominik calls out Solo Sikoa. Then Solo faces off with Dom, and then all of a sudden Rhea Ripley comes in, of course. Rhea Ripley, that being Dominik's mommy, comes in and faces off with Solo, which I will admit I actually really enjoyed. Dom was right. Dom all of a sudden goes for a cheap shot, but it backfires on Solo Sikoa, and then, of course, a brawl breaks loose. Rhea and Solo face off, but then Mustafa Ali comes in from behind with the crossbody off the top, and we go to commercial break, and then once we're back from break, it immediately leads us to Solo Sikoa versus Mustafa Ali. Overall thoughts on this opening segment. It was a great segment overall. I definitely enjoyed the segment. It was a great opening segment. Again, they're going to be splitting up the tag team titles, which, if you think about it, it wouldn't make sense, but at the same time, it kind of does make sense considering that WWE is still, going full-fledged with this brand split, especially after WrestleMania. The rumor is that they're going to be doing a draft after WrestleMania, which is definitely the right thing to do. So they're going to be splitting up the Raw and SmackDown tag team titles. Of course, we have the tournament to crown a tournament to face the Usos on SmackDown. So they're definitely splitting up those titles. Of course, we got Raw is 30. Judgment Day will face the Usos for the Raw tag team titles. Do I think they will win? Honestly, I do not know. It's very interesting to think about it, but if you think about it, I wouldn't mind if the Judgment Day beat the Usos. I mean, the Judgment Day at this point are on fire on Raw, so why wouldn't they? But also, another thing we need to talk about is they are going to have a celebration with the Bloodline. Yes, every member of the Bloodline is coming to Raw is 30 next week in celebration of Roman Reigns. And this started to have a lot of speculation within the fan base saying, oh my God, is The Rock going to show up? Is The Rock going to show up and, face off with Roman Reigns to start the build to WrestleMania? Because we all know WWE wants to do The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Now, keep in mind, WrestleMania is 2 nights, so you can have Roman wrestle both nights. But do I think The Rock will show up? No, I do not. But hey, as they say in WWE, anything could happen. And I wouldn't be surprised if it actually did happen. And I'd be very hyped. Raw's 30 is definitely looking to be a fantastic show in my eyes. I think it's going to be a great show overall. But yeah, man, that was the opening segment. So now we have Solo Sikoa versus Mustafa Ali. This match actually didn't last a lot. Mustafa Ali, of course, did get a couple of offense in. We got a chop by Ali into the corner. Solo goes for the Samoan drop. We get repeated rights by Solo into the corner. Solo goes for a running hip attack. Then after that, Solo's in control over Mustafa Ali. Ali goes for the drop kick, but then he goes for another drop kick. After that, he hits a thrust kick, sending Solo to the outside. Ali then tries to go for the suicide dive, but then runs into a right hand by Solo Sikoa. Solo then goes for a furious lariat on Ali back in the ring. At this point, Solo goes for the cover and a near fall. Ali then ducks the hip attack into the corner. Ali is on the apron, but then Solo catches Ali. Solo then proceeds to send Ali to the ring post, spine first, which looked absolutely brutal, by the way. And then the Usos come in onto the apron, but then Kevin Owens comes out, and then he fights off both Jimmy and Jay on the outside. KO at this point is at a disadvantage, but then he sends Jimmy to the steel steps. Ali then goes for a tornado DDT on Solo back in the ring. We get a cover into near fall. Ali goes to the top. He proceeds to miss a 450 splash, but then Solo catches Ali and hits the Samoan spike. We get a cover and Solo Sikoa wins the match, but immediately after, Kevin Owens hits the stunner on Solo Sikoa. He sends Solo to the steel steps. After that, KO exposes the announce table, proceeds to fight off Solo, and it looks like he's going to be getting revenge for what Solo Sikoa did to him this past Friday on SmackDown. He takes him to the announce table. He goes to the barricade, but the Usos come in. Kevin Owens then fights back. He throws a chair on Jimmy. Security come in to hold back Kevin Owens, and he stands up on the announce table, and the Bloodline retreat. Overall, the match was, of course, a normal type match and nothing really special. Ali looked great. Solo looked great. I mean, the way that they're booking Solo Sikoa, I really enjoy. I love how they're booking Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa is just doing great things, and I think he's going to be a great single star in the near future. But, of course, Kevin Owens is going to be facing Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, and that's going to be another interesting match as well, considering, of course, they're in the middle of this whole honorary use shit. And, we don't know what the hell is going to happen. But, one prediction, or I should say spoiler, as Paul Heyman would say, that I would have, is that Kevin Owens is not going to win. And I feel like Sami Zayn is going to be somewhat involved in that match at the Royal Rumble. We have a backstage segment with Bobby Lashley. Talks about how there's only one Almighty, and talks about how this elimination match, 5 wrestlers he's going to put in the Hurt Lock. His title reign, or I should say Austin Theory's title reign, of course Austin Theory is the current United States champion, has an expiration date, and he is going to put Theory away for good. We then get a video package of Cody Rhodes, Chapter 3 of Cody Rhodes' Recovery. This was definitely a really good video package. If there's one thing you can say about WWE, I know a lot of people would tend to complain a lot about WWE, but the one thing that WWE is so good at is their production and their video packages. Like, you can have a match that you do not give a single crap about, and they will put their best effort in putting a fantastic video package. That's how good WWE is with these types of things. And Cody Rhodes, as well, like the Cody Rhodes video packages that we saw these past 2 weeks on both Raw and SmackDown have been great. Of course, this whole thing covers Cody's torn pec injury that he had at Hell in a Cell and his current recovery. He goes into the Nightmare Factory, which looked great to see the Nightmare Factory on WWE television. And he announces that he will be back at the Royal Rumble, pretty much confirming that Cody Rhodes will be in the match, which I'm absolutely excited about because of the fact that Cody Rhodes has to, not if, has to be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns. There is no buts or ifs. The reason why I say that is because of the fact that throughout this entire Universal title run with Roman Reigns, who really did they build up that was exactly on Roman Reigns' level or close to Roman Reigns' level? Not really a lot of people. Now, you can make the argument that they should have had Roman drop the title at Clash at the Castle. I can totally understand that argument, but if you really think about it, I believe Drew was injured, so they really couldn't risk it in putting the belt on Drew McIntyre. But at the same time, when Cody Rhodes came in, Cody went from being the biggest guy that was booed in AEW to the guy that had the most cheers in WWE besides Roman Reigns. Cody Rhodes was in my opinion, the second guy behind Roman Reigns. He's definitely on Roman Reigns' level. And honestly, he should be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns. Because if Cody Rhodes does not beat Roman Reigns for that championship, everything that Cody stated in that first promo 2 nights after he made his return at WrestleMania, they will all be rendered useless. And we do not want to see that. Cody Rhodes has to be the star in this scenario. Now, we all know that they have the Rock match planned, most likely. Now, apparently the story was that Rock has to make a decision before the Royal Rumble and if he wants to wrestle Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. But the best way to do Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania is have Rock face Roman on night 1, have Roman demolish The Rock, and you have to create a scenario in which Roman Reigns looks so strong to the point where it looks damn near impossible for Cody Rhodes to beat Roman Reigns. And then, of course, go into night 2, and you guys already know what happens. Cody Rhodes beat Roman Reigns for both titles at WrestleMania. Now, how are they going to split those championships? That is a good question, but a solution that I honestly do not know what the hell they're going to be doing. But Cody Rhodes returning to the Royal Rumble is going to be a treat, and it's going to be an amazing moment when he wins the Royal Rumble in a couple of weeks. We have Elias backstage, and he talks about how his intentions at the Royal Rumble match. Talks about how his 2022 has been rough, and the Vengeance Tour begins. And then he runs into MVP and says that the winner of the Rumble is already a done deal. And Elias basically challenges him to a match. After that, we get Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjaman versus the Street Profits. Great match overall. Of course, one of the things about this show this week was that they're slowly teasing a reformation of the Hurt Business. And again, the Hurt Business is a faction that I relatively enjoyed when they were around. But it is safe to say that, number one, they weren't booked well. And number two, I felt like they were definitely at a disadvantage. And it's not their fault. It's the booking. The booking really kind of screwed them over. Like, how many times did they break up the Hurt Business? Like twice? Yeah, it was absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. But them reuniting the Hurt Business is definitely the right way to go. But Shelton takes out Ford. We get a spinning kick on Dawkins by Shelton Benjamin. And then he proceeds to hit a German suplex. We get a cover and a near fall. Cedric Alexander then tags in. We get a double team by both Shelton and Cedric. Then Ford tags in. He goes to the top and he hits a frog splash off the top. He follows up with the lariat, and then we get a cover and a near fall. At this point, Cedric is on the apron. He tries to go for a German on Ford onto the outside, but then Ford holds on. Imagine if he actually hit that German. After that, we get a couple of back elbows by Ford, but then Cedric takes out Ford to the apron. MVP then comes out, and this is, of course, beginning the teases of the reformation of the Hurt Business. So once we're back from break, Cedric is in control over Ford. Ford then gets sent to the corner, but then Dawkins tags in. Dawkins at this point is on fire. Shelton Benjamin comes in, but then we get a back elbow by Dawkins. We get a spinning splash into the corner on Shelton Benjamin. At this point, Ford is on the top rope. He hits a frog splash. We get a cover and a near fall when Cedric Alexander makes the save. After that, Dawkins takes Shelton up on his shoulders. Cedric goes for the chop block, but then Shelton goes somewhat of it looked like a Spanish fly, but it really wasn't. He goes for somewhat of a Spanish fly maneuver on Ford off the top rope. We get a cover and a near fall. Ford later on goes for the enziguri. after that. Shelton then gets taken to the outside, but then Ford takes out Shelton over the top. And then Cedric all of a sudden goes for the suicide dive, which leads to Dawkins being the only one in the ring, and you already know what Angelo Dawkins is going to be doing. Dawkins goes for a somersault on the outside. MVP is on the apron. Cedric and Shelton take out Dawkins with the knee by Cedric. We get a cover and a near fall. At this point, MVP is on the apron, but then Dawkins rolls Cedric's shoulders to the mat, and the Street Profits end up getting the win. Overall thoughts on this match. This was a great match overall. I don't know why, liked the finish of the match for some reason. I thought it was pretty interesting to see what they're going to be doing, but MVP, is starting to, kind of reform the Hurt Business in some way, shape, or form, but it's definitely going to be very interesting to see what they do in the next couple of weeks. We get a backstage interview with the Judgment Day. Balor says that he is ready for the six-pack challenge, and then Alpha Academy come in and says that they will get back their win that they stole from them. After that, Rhea proceeds to threaten both Chad Gable and Otis as well. So, yeah, man, we got the six-pack elimination match happening later on in this show. We get a Becky Lynch segment. Becky Lynch is, of course, entering through the crowd, as she has been doing throughout the past couple of weeks. She calls out Bayley, and then Bayley comes out. She says that she beat Becky so bad that she forgot her name last week, and Becky calls her Karen. Her name is Becky, not Karen, that being what Bayley said, but then, of course, Becky calls her Karen. Bayley says that she is a person, and she says that she is just reacting to her loss, and, she talks about how she still has no friends. Becky says that she has friends in Cincinnati, and, of course, that being the fans. After that, she talks about how Bayley peaked in 2015. Bayley says that she was robbed by Becky. She took her spot everywhere. And Becky says that she was kept in NXT because she wanted to help the future. She was seen as just another body, that being Becky Lynch herself. She worked hard more than anybody else, and she knows Bayley loves this. Between the two of them, she just whines and moans, and it's everyone's fault, but it's not hers all of a sudden. Bayley says that the only reason why she became the man was because of the fact that she got punched in the face from another woman, of course that being Nia Jax. After that, Bayley says that she doesn't need them. Becky wants to face her one-on-one next week in a steel cage match. And Bayley says no problem, and the match is official next week. Overall, this was not a bad segment whatsoever. Do I think Damage Control has definitely run its course? Yeah, I think they have. I feel like the experiment at the end of the day just didn't work. I don't know, man. I just genuinely feel that the best thing that they could possibly do with Bayley right now is turn her back babyface. I don't know why. Part of me really misses the hugger Bayley, and I just feel like her heel run has just run its course. It's just not special, anymore. I don't even think it was special at all, to be quite honest with you. I remember everybody clamoring for a Bayley heel turn, but I mean, let's be honest. Did it really go anywhere? Especially now. Did Damage Control really go anywhere? Honestly, I'm not really that interested when it comes to Damage Control at all, and that is just me. The best thing that they could do right now is have Bayley go just turn babyface, but I don't know. I don't even think they're ever going to do that, but that is just me. But we will be getting a steel cage match between Becky Lynch and Bayley at Raw is 30 next week. Again, Raw is 30 is looking like it's going to be a stacked show, and I'm absolutely excited to see what they are going to be doing. Dolph Ziggler backstage is getting ready for the six-pack challenge elimination match. Mustafa Ali comes in and basically bitches and moans, says that he is handed every opportunity after opportunity, and after that, he hits Dolph on the back of the neck. So it looks like Ali is just absolutely pissed. He's continuing on with this, oh my God, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. Where are they going with this? I have absolutely no idea, but, let's see what they do. Again, the biggest problem with this show, and you can tell by my facial expressions, is that, stuff around the middle of the show is just not interesting. Another thing that really irks me about Raw especially, is that the crowd is just so dead. You hear crickets whenever a match would happen, especially in the middle of Raw. In the middle of that second hour, all you hear is just flat out crickets from the crowd, and it's absolutely crazy, man. That's why I praise so much Dynamite, because AEW actually has hot crowds. That's what they have going for them. And WWE, especially on Raw, like SmackDown, they have hot crowds from week to week. But on Raw, forget about it. Elias is in the ring. And, of course, he is getting ready for his match. He thinks he's going to be wrestling MVP, but that is not the case. MVP comes out, and he's not in his ring attire. He's actually still wearing his suit. And talks about how lately things haven't gone well for him, and they will get a lot worse. And who comes out? Omos. Yes, Omos comes out. And it's definitely very interesting to see what they're doing with Omos. I'm not really the biggest fan of Omos, in my opinion. Never really was. Still am not a fan of his, but let's see where he goes. We had Omos versus Elias. Elias goes after Omos, but then Omos pushes him off. Omos then goes for the big boot. At this point, Elias is on the outside. Elias then after that applies a sleeper on Omos. After that, Omos gets sent to the post, but then MVP blocks Elias with the cane. And then Elias gets his guitar, but then Omos grabs it and then smashes that guitar. He headbutts him before he did all that, by the way. Once we're back in the ring, Elias goes for 3 jumping knees. Elias goes to the top. Omos catches him, and he drops him down to the mat. We get a cover, and Omos wins the match. Overall, normal match. It was basically a squash match that Elias had a little bit of offense in, but nothing really special. It's your typical Omos match with a little bit of offense with his opponent. That is all it was. Now, it looks like he will be joining the Hurt Business. I do not know. It looks like he's going to be like the big man muscle in the group, but we'll have to wait and see, man, because this Hurt Business stuff, they're definitely teasing. They've been teasing it for the past couple of weeks. Again, man, this show is like such, it's not a situation in which Raw is like a horrible, horrible show that it's cringe, unlike when Vince McMahon was running it. It's just the fact that I just feel like nothing is really that important, and they're not really making me care a lot about what's going on the show. That's the biggest problem that Raw has. We had Adam Pearce backstage talking about Raw 30, and then Akira Tozowa comes in and talks about how he wants to be in the Rumble, and Adam Pearce replies, "You have to earn it." So he wrestles later on tonight. We had Dominik Mysterio and Damian Priest versus Alpha Academy. Not a bad match at all, surprisingly. Every time when Chad Gable is in the ring, Chad Gable will give it his best. And that is exactly what he did in this match right here. Dominik and Chad Gable start. Dominik, of course, is in the ear of Rhea Ripley. Dominik proceeds to tag Damian Priest after that. Priest and Gable wrestle. We get a waist lock by Gable, but then Gable gets taken to the outside. At this point, both are back in the ring. Priest later stomps on Gable into the corner. We get a couple of body shots by Priest. Gable goes for the dragon screw. Otis then tags in. Gable goes to the top, and he proceeds to hit it looks like a double sledge. After that, Gable gets thrown off to the outside. Once we're back from break, we get a kick by Priest, followed by a rolling elbow. We get a back elbow at this point. Priest goes for the broken arrow. After that, we get a cover into near fall. He takes Gable to the top rope, but then Priest continues to work on Gable. Dominik then tags in. He hits repeated rights on Gable. He goes to the top and then takes him down. Later on, the hot tag was made. Or I should say Gable. So what happens is we get repeated rights by Gable. He goes to the top. Gable takes him down. Gable's on the top, and he goes for the flying headbutt. After that, the hot tag is made. Otis proceeds to take out everybody, but then Priest takes Otis, but then Otis escapes and takes him down. After that, he slams him down to the mat. Otis does the caterpillar, which was absolutely funny. Of course, that was back in the day of heavy machinery. He goes to the top, but then Dominik takes Gable out. Gable then slams him on the outside. Meanwhile, Priest gets Otis. He hits the South of Heaven chokeslam off the top. Gable then hits a rolling German suplex. Every time when Chad Gable does that rolling German suplex, it looks amazing. Dominik comes in, but then gets caught in the ankle lock, but then Priest comes in when Judgment Day come in to distract the referee. Priest then goes for the South of Heaven, but then gives the pinfall attempt to Dominik, and then Priest and Dominik win the match. So, Again, Judgment Day is on a roll. I wouldn't understand why you would have Judgment Day lose a week before their title match against the Usos, so it was definitely the right decision to have Judgment Day get the win. But yeah, man, Judgment Day is definitely on a roll, and I actually, definitely see them winning the Raw Tag Team Championships. Keep in mind, it wouldn't really that be a big of an issue if the Usos lost the Raw Tag Team titles, because of the fact that if you think about it, WWE booking, they didn't really give a shit. They would have the Usos lose constantly on a week-to-week basis on both Raw and SmackDown. And if you also think about it, the SmackDown Tag Team titles are the more important titles that the Usos have, because they won those Raw Tag Team titles, I believe, in the summer of last year. So it really wouldn't matter if they lost the Raw Tag Team titles. But my prediction for next week's Judgment Day versus Usos match, I definitely see Judgment Day winning the Raw Tag Team titles. We have Mia Yim and Iyo Sky. Bro, these 3 hours of this show, is such a... It's a tough watch, man. You can tell by my facial expressions, I still have a lot of shit to cover on this show. And it's, so much. It's absolutely crazy. But we have Michin, Mia Yim, versus Iyo Sky, or Io Shirai. Nothing really much happened in this match. It was a relatively short match. We get a drop kick by Mia Yim. Sky is on the apron. We get a kick by Iyo. She goes to the top. She goes for the shotgun drop kick, followed by a Meteora in the corner. After that, she goes for the cover and a near fall. Sky then grabs the red hair of Sky. After that, she applies a crossface on Mia Yim. And then we get a roll-up by Mia Yim and a near fall. Mia Yim proceeds to pick her up, but then Iyo lands on her feet. We get an uppercut by Iyo after that. We get repeated elbows by Io Shirai. Iyo then tries to go for the Hurricane Rana, but then Mia catches her. Mia then goes for the neckbreaker, followed by a kick. After that, Mia drops Iyo face first to the mat. She follows up with a drop kick. Mia Yim then goes for the German suplex. After that, Dakota Kai causes the distraction. We get a roll-up by Iyo Shirai. After that, we get a near fall. Candice LeRae then interferes, but then Mia takes her down. We get a cover, and Mia Yim wins the match. But then after the match, Dakota Kai attacks her, but then somebody makes a save. Who made the save? I completely forgot. Candice makes the save, I believe it was. Yeah, Candice makes the save. Overall, it was a fine match. My apologies if I completely forgot that, because I completely misspelled Candice's name on my notes. My apologies. But Candice LeRae makes the save. Overall, nothing really much happened in this match. Nothing. It was just a normal match that happened, in my opinion. Again, the biggest problem with Raw is that I just don't care a lot about what is going on the show. And I think the biggest problem with that is the fact that the show is 3 hours. It is such a drag to watch. It is absolutely insane. We get a segment with Bianca Bellaire, and it was actually pretty interesting. It was not bad at all. It talks about how she knows that it's only been a couple of weeks. It says that she misses the fans so much. If it was up to her, she would never miss Monday Night Raw. But this job, I should say, she has to just, do the possible without risk. Even if she ends up with a scar on her face after what Alexa did to her, she will face her again, and again. With risks comes a reward with becoming the Raw Women's Champion. She proceeds to call out Alexa Bliss. And Alexa says that she heard everything that she had to say. She wants to see if she has the guts to say it to her face. Or I should say, that's exactly what Bianca said. My apologies. So Alexa Bliss comes out, and Alexa will gladly repeat herself. She says that she fears her because she doesn't know what to expect of her. The Royal Rumble is in 2 weeks, but then Bianca immediately interrupts her. After that, she asks if she wants to wrestle 29 other women or face her at the pay-per-view. Alexa asks, "What's the catch?" And Bianca gives her a choice. Of course, Alexa gets the title shot choice. And Alexa accepts her challenge. Bianca then says that she will not only see her at the Rumble, but she will see her tonight. Both proceed to brawl. The brawl would lead over to the barricade down to the crowd. After that, Alexa sends her to the steel steps, but then Bianca stops. Bianca runs over the barricade, but then Bianca is behind Alexa Bliss. After that, Bianca continues to attack her through the crowd. Bianca sets up a couple of chairs. She picks up Alexa, but what happens is Uncle Howdy shows up right in front of Bianca Belaire when she has Alexa Bliss up on her shoulders, which looked awesome, by the way. I loved that visual. After that, Alexa escapes and hits a DDT on the floor. So they are continuing on with this Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss fiasco. I'm going to give it a chance. I know when Vince was running things, I constantly shit on it because of the fact that it was probably the most cringiest forms of wrestling television that I have ever seen in my entire life. But under Triple H, at least they try to make things interesting and things more realistic and intriguing. You know, so this Uncle Howdy stuff with Alexa Bliss, I'm going to give it a chance. But if it's not good, then it's not good at the end of the day. But Alexa will be facing Bianca Belaire for the Raw Women's Championship at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. After that, we got Bronson Reed versus Akira Tozowa. Not a long match, relatively. Reed got most of the offense. The crowd was really dead during this match, but the finish definitely made up for what this match was. But I will say this, the crowd was just flat out dead. We get a belly-to-belly suplex by Bronson Reed. We get a waist lock followed by a drop kick. After that, he takes him out. We get a headbutt by Reed followed by a chop. He goes for the splash into the corner. Later goes for a spinning heel kick. He goes for the Hurricane Rana, taking Reed to the outside, that being Akira Tozowa. Dropkick by Tozowa, followed by a suicide dive after that. We get a cannonball by Tozowa on the outside, caught by Reed. So Reed catches him and powerbombs him onto the barricade. And then he runs onto the apron and shoulder tackles him onto the outside. Reed then goes to the top. He hits the tsunami, which looked really sick. And we get a cover, and Bronson Reed wins the match. Overall, this was not a bad match whatsoever. It's just the crowd was just flat out dead, and I just didn't care what the hell was going on. But I will say that finish looked pretty dope, in my opinion. We got the six-pack challenge elimination match to close Raw. Overall thoughts on this match. This was a really good match overall. The reason why I feel my best guess is the reason why WWE does matches this long, especially the third hour, is because of the fact that they have to just basically, kill time. What should we do to basically fill up the rest of the 3 hours that this show has? And that's why last week we had the tag team turmoil, and this week we had the six-pack challenge. But overall, this wasn't a bad match whatsoever. So it's Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor versus Miz versus Baron Corbin versus Dolph Ziggler versus Bobby Lashley. So it's a six-pack challenge, and the winner of this match will face Austin Theory for the United States Championship at Raw is 30. Before the match starts, Austin Theory comes out, and throughout the entirety of the match, he is on commentary. Once we're back from commercial break, Rollins and Balor are in the ring. Then Dolph works on Miz. Corbin and Lashley fight it out onto the outside as well. Rollins goes for the Enziguri. Balor goes for, I believe it was the Pele kick. JBL then interferes with Lashley, but then from behind, Corbin takes him out. Miz then sends Dolph into the Timekeeper's area. Dolph hits a tornado DDT onto the floor. Back in the ring, Rollins picks up Balor and hits a gutbuster. After that, Rollins goes to the top, but then Corbin interferes. But then Corbin fights off Rollins. He goes to the top, but then Rollins continues to fight him off. Balor then goes to the top, but then Lashley enters the fray. After that, Lashley takes out everyone from a Tower of Doom spot. It looked like a Tower of Doom spot, but Lashley was the one that basically dropped everybody down. Lashley sets up the spear on Seth Rollins, but then Rollins escapes. Then Miz sends him to the outside. Dolph tries to go for the zigzag, so at this point they're going with spot after spot after spot. Dolph goes for the Famouser. Miz follows up with the skull-crushing finale. After that, we get a cover and a near fall. We get repeated yes kicks by Miz into the corner. We get a boot by Miz, but then Miz goes for the roll-up. We get a boot by Miz once again, but then we get a kick by Miz. After that, Balor goes for the roll-up, and we get a near fall. Miz goes for repeated kicks onto the ribs of Balor, followed by a kick to the head. Dolph then comes in, but then Miz applies the figure 4 leg lock Dolph then reverses the figure 4 after that. Rollins then goes for the curve stomp. After that, we get a cover and Rollins eliminates Miz. So Miz is the first guy to be eliminated. Once we're back from commercial break, Balor sends Corbin into the corner. Corbin then gets into the outside, but then Lashley is there. He picks up Corbin, but then Balor comes in. Both Corbin and Balor send Lashley to the post, but then Rollins is in control over Finn Balor. After that, we get a clothesline by Rollins. Rollins then from the apron drives his knee on Balor onto the outside. After that, he drinks water and spits it in the face of Austin Theory, who was on commentary. Corbin then picks up Rollins, but then Dolph enters the fray. Both Dolph, I believe it was Dolph and Rollins fight off Corbin. I completely forgot who else that was alongside Dolph, so my apologies. Rollins and Dolph go for the double team, so yeah, it definitely was Seth Rollins. We get a roll-up by Dolph and a near fall. Rollins then goes for a roll-up, but we get another near fall. We get a suicide dive by Seth Rollins, avoiding the super kick by Dolph Ziggler. After that, Balor's in the ring. He goes for the somersault onto the outside. Everyone is on the outside at this point. Dolph is on the top, and then Dolph goes for the splash on the outside. Back in the ring, we get a kick by Corbin on Dolph, super kick by Dolph on Corbin, followed by a kick on Lashley. At this point, he manages to hit the zigzag. After that, we get a super kick on Balor, but then Rollins hits the pedigree on Dolph Ziggler. After that, we get a cover by Rollins, and Dolph is the next one eliminated. Once we're back from break, Corbin sends Balor on Seth into the corner. Corbin hits the deep six. We get a cover into near fall. We get repeated rights by Corbin, followed by another repeated rights by Corbin on Rollins. Rollins then fights back, but then Rollins tries to go for the springboard, but then Corbin hits a right hand. Lashley and Corbin fight it out, but then Lashley goes for the neck breaker. He sends Corbin to the outside, but then Balor comes in. But Lashley fights back. He takes both Rollins and Balor and hits a double DDT. After that, we get a kick by Lashley on Rollins. He flattens Rollins. After that, we get a cover into near fall. Later on in the match, MVP and Omos come in, but then Corbin goes for the clothesline on Lashley from behind. Balor hits the sling blade. Rollins clotheslines Corbin on the outside. Balor hits a shotgun dropkick on Lashley. Balor goes to the top, and then he hits the coup de grace on Balor, I should say. On Lashley, I should say. My apologies. But then Rollins hits the stomp on Balor. We got a cover, and Rollins eliminates Finn Balor. After that, he tries to stomp Corbin, but then Corbin works on Rollins. Rollins goes for the super kick, but then Rollins goes back into the ring. Omos interferes, and then he takes him to the announce table. Corbin is in the ring, but then Lashley goes for the spear on Corbin. After that, we get a cover, and Lashley eliminates Corbin. Lashley then argues with both Omos and MVP. Theory interferes and takes out Lashley, but then Omos attacks Theory. Rollins then goes for the stomp on Omos. He takes out Theory. We get a couple of clotheslines. He clotheslines Theory over the timekeeper's area, but then he goes for the super kick on MVP. Lashley then spears Rollins, and we get a cover, and Lashley wins the match, and he will now face Theory for the United States Championship at Raw's 30 next week. Overall, this match was basically to, fill in the time that they had on this 3-hour show. That's absolutely a tough watch because of the fact that it's that long. And you can tell by me, holy shit, this show is so long. But overall, this wasn't a bad match whatsoever. Thoughts on Raw? Raw wasn't really the best show, but of course, once we get to WrestleMania season, it's definitely going to be more interesting. But that was my Raw review from January 16th, 2022. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the freaking referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. So, as always, it is Flamin' Riggy DeRays from the WrestleHavoc Podcast, signing out.